Jim Wooldridge, thank you for joining us. And Jim's got enormous wealth of history and technology. And so I'm going to let you tell a little bit about your background, but thank you for joining us. And he's going to show some real life explanations or some real life examples of things that he's been working on with projects. So thank you, Jim.
You're welcome. Let me translate that for you. And Sharon says I have lots of history. That means I'm old. So I've seen more history, which is true, definitely true. But I'm currently, I've been immersed in AI now probably for 2 years. I mean, I've been aware of it for, a decade before that when it was kind of just formative, but never really did much with it. But the past 2 years have pretty much, 7 days a week trying to dig into what you could do with the chats and then what you could do with agents and how you can do software development with different things. And so one of the things that's come up recently is we started talking about, okay, a lot of people are using AI now to augment or to replace or do, to, I guess, more efficiently manage processes that they do today. And so, if you're doing bookkeeping, you can use AI to make your bookkeeping faster or more efficient, or to check yourself. Or if you're doing software development, you can use Cursor and you really accelerate your software development efforts. But is that really the best use of some of this technology? And so we started thinking through, what if we didn't just replicate what we're currently doing faster with AI? What if we tried to do different things? And so that's kind of where this started, and this has evolved over time. But any of you ever watched the TV show Suits? A long time ago, there was a legal assistant on Suits called Donna, and she was, I think, Harvey Specter's paralegal or legal assistant. He would walk up to her and he'd start to say something. She'd hand him something. So she knew what he wanted. She was just handing him things before he even asked for them. And so we thought, okay, well, that's cool. Let's create a personal agent. We actually internally call it Donna because that's what we're trying to replicate. But so we thought, well, what would Donna do if we weren't just trying to replace what a human does or to do things better or augment what a human does, but if we really wanted to be a personal agent and we wanted to do, we wanted to build a relationship with people. And so one of the things we're doing, I'm working with a company called WorkMatch, and WorkMatch provides job search services that are worker focused on frontline essential workers. So these are people that have to actually go to work. So whether it's nurses or warehousing people or logistics or plumbers or electricians or you name it, people that really keep the infrastructure of the country going. So some of them are very technical, some of them aren't. So if we wanted to reach those people that are less technical, how would we do it? And we thought, well, if we don't think about it as AI, we just think, how would we establish a relationship with anybody? It's a combination of conversations, the ability to share information with them, show them things, whether it's on a whiteboard or on a piece of paper or on a computer screen, to basically be multimodal. So any way that you can interact with a person, human to human, and all the tools that you have around you, if we give AIs the same types of tools, what would that look like? And so that's where we started to come up with the idea of multimodal or omni-channel interactions. The idea that not only can I go into a chat session and type, just do like chat back and forth with an AI agent, I could also do voice conversations, and we could do that today. I mean, that's enabled through most of the chat sessions. I can also do phone calls. I can call an agent if it's hooked up to a number, or or the agent can call me. We could do email. We could do things graphically through like a progressive web app. And so if we could do all of those things through an agent, or an agent can do that autonomously, what would that mean in terms of its ability to connect with a person? So, and then that, just going down that path a little further. So if I start thinking about, and Dan, you alluded to this, in the past, we would build out websites. So if I'm doing a job search website and I need to collect information about someone's employment history, their demographic information, where they live, what kind of skills they have. In the past, we would build out all of these web forms, and we take them linearly through this form, then this form, then this form, until they got to the end. What if we didn't do that? What if we just had a conversation with somebody? And it doesn't even have to be a single conversation. It can be, hold on one second. I'm about to get striving to talk too much. But so it could be multiple conversations, and it could do it over, and you could pick up where you left off. So if I have a conversation with an agent, we start talking about, I live here, and I work in a warehouse. I can drive a forklift. I like to work as part of a team. I'm okay working outside. All these are all the parameters that for what I would look for in a career. And then you get interrupted, and so the agent can call you back. You can say, here's, when are you typically available? It can call you back at some point and continue that conversation and pick up right where you left off. It can also share things with you on a screen. So if I've got my phone and I'm talking to an agent through a phone system or through a phone call, it can start popping up things, whether through SMS, which is pretty much just text, or MMS, which does a little bit of multimedia stuff, or Android has had this for a while, and iPhones are starting to get RCS, which is Rich Communication Service. And that allows you to have cards and carousels and do almost like a web application right through your chat or your text messaging app. On Apple, it's Messages. I don't know what it is on Google. I'm not an Android person, but so you could be talking and looking at content here. So if say the agent is telling me, you're going to go for an interview here, and while it's telling me that, it's popping up a map on the screen here, and or it's popping up a list of things I can select. And I can interact with it here. I can talk to it. I can answer verbally. I can answer by clicking here. It starts to get pretty powerful. And the idea is that this becomes all the individual components rolled up together become greater than the sum of the parts. So you start to create an interface that lives, that's better than just the voice. It's as close to a human interaction as you could probably get. So that's kind of what I've really been focused on. And so we started trying to do this about a month ago, which was good timing because OpenAI just came out with one of their real-time models that allowed us to that did the text to speech and speech to text back and forth, that did that real time without having to go through multiple modules to actually translate some of that stuff. So we started doing that, and it's let me see if I can get this up here. There's these are just documents that I have on one second. I've got a bunch of the stuff here.
Make sure you're on share.
I'm on share. I'm not in.
Share this.
I probably didn't yet. I did before, and then I probably stopped. Okay. Yep.
There you go. Got
Okay,
it.
cool. So let me go to Word here. So so this is kind of the architecture, and this is where I'm going to get into some tech details. So it depends on how much of a technical background you guys have. But so we started looking at if I built an agent to do this type of communication, how would I do it? And it sounds pretty simple at first, just to have an agent that would talk to you, but it really turned out to be, we're on a third or fourth iteration of this thing, trying to get it there. And I think we're about there. But initially I thought we would have one agent. And do you guys know, I guess, what an agent is? Should we talk about agentic AI a little bit? An agent is something that, rather than just going through a chat interface, it's autonomous. So it kind of runs in the background. It can do things depending on the model and depending on how you structure it and how you prompt it and give it the context and all. It can do things on its own. And what we found is that that's pretty powerful because it can run longer and it can do a longer set of tasks. But we found out that there's limitations when we did that. So we started then creating multiple agents. So we start breaking things down, and instead of one agent, we'll have lots of agents. And if you have lots of agents, just like if you have a lot of people, you've usually got to have a manager to manage them. Well, with agents, you've got to have an orchestration layer or a special agent or a set of agents that will manage the other agents and roll up all the information that they collect, verify it, make sure it meets the security guidelines, make sure it meets accuracy guidelines. And so we started doing that, and this is kind of a high level view of what that looks like. And so we've got a phone. You can actually do phone calls, just voice phone calls. You could do the RCS, which is like the super graphic text messaging on Android and iOS. You could do WhatsApp, and you can do something called progressive web apps, which is also relatively new and allows you to basically run an app on your phone that is almost as good as having, run a website on your phone, like through a link, that's almost as good as having a dedicated app. So it gives you a lot more control than you would normally get through a website. And I know this is getting kind of dry, but this is, I guess the point of this is that as we progress through this, we initially had an agent for each one of these channels, and that worked okay, but then we started to get drift. And drift is so the voice agent was thinking one thing, but then the chat agent was getting confused, and they'd start to drift, and they'd be talking about different things, and it got confusing. So we had to go back and re-architect all of this. But we're at the point now that we think this is working pretty well. We're running into some problems in that if you want to use actual traditional phone calls, or if you want to do traditional texting, you've got to register those numbers. There's an organization called 10DLC. You've got to register your chat bots. You've got to register your phones, and it's this long bureaucratic process. So we're now trying to figure out how to work around some of that. But the idea, I guess, behind all of this is that we're building this relationship with these frontline workers and ultimately with everybody. I want to make sure. So building these relationships, and now that it's real time, it's fast enough that it seems seamless. It can reach out to you. You can reach out to them. You basically want it to be like your buddy giving you a call. So I do have, and this is an early version where the voice wasn't great, but I do have this is rudimentary, but this is an example of this is the Donna agent calling me, pretending I'm looking for a job. I've got a job, but I'm looking for new jobs. And this is kind of what the interaction looks like. And you can see this is like mirrors my phone, and you'll hear kind of the interaction as we go through this. And then, so let me see.
What's up? How's that lazy dog of yours?
Still lazy and fat. So let me stop there. So over time, the agent had built up enough of a rapport with me that it starts to remember details about me. And it remembered that I had a dog, and that I said it was lazy. So it starts off the conversation just like anybody else would. It's not going to immediately just call me and say, I've got a job for you. It's going to make a little small talk first.
Ben, I found 3 jobs that align with your profile really well. Take a look.
So it sends me a picture of a fat dog, because I said my dog was fat. And then it sends me 3 jobs, which I can't really scroll through here.
Let me know
but the idea is these are cards, and you can be able to swipe left and right and see all 3 of these jobs.
I really like options 2 and 3. Could I apply for both? I could do the local gig during the day and do the event gig for extra cash on the side.
I don't see anything in the job posting that prevents that. Let's try it. I'll apply for both positions on your behalf. How's that sound?
Sounds great. Thanks. By the way, for my current job, do you have my schedule handy?
Of course. You actually have 2 options this week.
Can I take both?
No, remember that company policies only allow you to work 30 hours per week. Working both would put you at 36 hours. Sorry, dude, you have to pick one.
Fine. Let's do Saturday.
You got it. I'll lock you in for Saturday.
Thanks.
Take that fat dog for a walk. I'll reach out if I hear back about the driver positions or if your schedule changes. Donna out.
So what you couldn't really see here, well, let me scroll up because it's a video, but these are cards, these little things. That's actually supposed to be a truck. It's a bad image of a truck. But the idea is that I can swipe left and right through those and look at all three of the jobs. And then there are buttons on there that I could interact with. So there's a lot of interactivity on this RCS type stuff.
So there's a question from the audience. They're
Sure.
asking, does it help align your resume to the posting?
Does it
For the posting, when you were talking about the resumes and the posting?
does it tailor it? Does it customize it? Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, it can.
thank you.
Yeah, that's actually a very good question. It will tailor your resume before it applies for you, and it'll actually do the application for you. And that's really the power of some of these agents that we're starting to see, is the things it can do on your behalf. I've got my email now is managed by Perplexity, and Comet is doing a lot of my email stuff for me. It'll auto respond to some of the emails. It's doing a lot more stuff, which Dan kind of alluded to. It's doing a lot more stuff on my behalf, so I just have to tell it exactly what limits I want to give it, or when to respond, when not to respond, and how to flag things as spam and whatever. And it's doing a great job with it. But that's one of the examples. And I do have to apologize for the voice is actually much better. There are a ton of different models that are available for developers that are doing agents. So I know everybody talks about there's GPT-5 and there's Claude Sonnet, the Perplexity models and the Gemini models. But if you go in and look at the APIs, there are hundreds and hundreds of models. And they do have real-time models, they have voice models, they have models to do graphic things. And so there is a model that has a much more natural voice. But part of the issue with agents is the cost. And so everything with an agent is driven by tokens. And so the higher level the model, the more these interactions cost. And a token is actually a word or part of a word. So the longer the prompt that goes in, or the longer the response, the higher the cost. And so I use a lot of the testing with that mechanical voice because it's a lot cheaper. And then once we've got it tested, we're ready to go, then I upgrade to the higher voice so it sounds more natural. So that's why that was more of a mechanical sounding voice. But the idea, the beauty of this is that this is kind of what Dan alluded to. This is dynamic. It was building these RCS cards and carousels on the fly. So exactly what Dan said. So when in the past, as we interact, it dynamically generates this depending on what I say or how I interact with it. It will then dynamically create the next set of those things and fill in pieces of the data as you go. I've actually got, I don't think I could show it because it's not up and running, but I had early versions of this. I would actually have a database schema on the side of the screen. And so as you're talking to it, you could see it filling in all the pieces of data that it's collecting. And it's smart enough to go through and validate that data. It looks for conflicts in the data. So if I told at one point I worked at job, ABC company from January to March, and later I say I worked from January to May, it'll come back and ask me, you said these two different things, which one is it? And it's, there's really no limit to the amount of data that it can collect. We have structured data that we collect around jobs and, different training programs that are put together. So it collects structured data, but then it also just collects anything I say. It will find a way to store it. So if I mention that I have a dog and that my dog is lazy, it remembers that. And it will start to remember that for other people as well. It doesn't share the data that I have, but it does share the structure. So the fact that we capture information about pets and the pets' names and personalities of the pets, et cetera. And it could do that with literally anything. And it does it dynamically and on the fly. So we believe this is going to have a fairly significant impact on how we interact with AI in the future. And I guess let me pause here and ask, I wasn't sure, I've got a lot of detail here, technical details, and I could go through the different technologies that we're using, the different ways that we interact, but I don't know if this is the appropriate audience for that. So if anybody's interested in that, I can go into that in a lot of detail. And if not, we could talk a little bit more about what the future of how AI is going to interact, I guess, with people and
You know,
teams.
it's very important. There's
Right.
50 people online. So.
Right. Okay. So, so let's talk about agents then for a minute, and what they can really do. And Dan had said, he talked about the fact that he didn't think people were going to, AI agents weren't going to take people's jobs. I do think it's going to be a shift, and again, I think he's right. I think there are a lot of mundane things, especially software development. I've got agents now where I've got like 6 or 7 agents with one orchestrating agent. I can pass them a statement of work, basically. They'll take it and they'll build the project to completion. And I'll go back through and do a QA check at the end, like user acceptance testing, but they take it cradle to grave and I don't have to touch it. And so if I'm a software developer, which I have been in the past, I'm like, that's a little scary. And we're seeing the same thing in accounting, accounts payable, accounts receivable. Once you get the agentic AI set up, you've got the prompting right, you've got your guardrails right, they're doing it. I mean, medical billing, revenue cycle management within healthcare. I'm 100% sure Dan's right that there's going to be now new jobs pop up around that, but we're not sure exactly what those are going to look like yet. But the agentic AI is far more powerful than what you see through the normal chat interface. And I will also say, the chat GPT stuff, I've got the pro level. I pay like $200 a month for most of my subscriptions. $200 for chat GPT Pro, $200 for the Perplexity Max. And there's a huge difference. If I just do the standard models on chatting with chat GPT, I get some answers. But when I crank it up to Pro and ask it a question or give it some problem to solve, it often takes, rather than come back immediately, it's like 10 minutes. It'll spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes thinking about it. But when it comes back with an answer, it's a good answer. I mean, it could generate whole documents on the fly. So there's, depending on how you set this up, AI can do, if you haven't really done anything with agents, you might be surprised just how capable it really is. Which kind of gets into the point of, is it really intelligence or not? It is a predictive model. It is a language model. And one of the things that we talk about a lot is, how does that equate to intelligence? And what's the difference between how we think versus how the AI thinks? And if you study linguistics, or like Noam Chomsky, there's a lot of people think that our intelligence is driven by the structure of our language, which means it's no coincidence that the true first AI was based on large language models, because language defines how you think. Not completely. I mean, there's some innate things, geospatial things, movements, but to a large extent, yeah, I don't know about you guys, but when I think, I'm thinking in conversation in my head. I'm usually thinking phrases, and I think most people are. So is it really that different than what we're doing? I mean, yes, they can hallucinate, but I might misspell perplexity 3 out of 5 times or something.
You're about to venture into a completely different conversation.
Well, yeah, I am. Yeah. So kinesthetics, I'm not sure if that's the right term, but okay.
This is amazing. I'm not gonna put it down, but we have more going on as humans than just our language.
Right. No, that's true. That's true. And to our credit, we don't need massive data centers either. I mean, we're running what the brain's like 3-4 watts. I think, I don't remember the exact numbers, but it's really low power consumption compared to an AI model.
Can I ask a question about the agent? Because we have an open job that we posted out on Indeed. I would not avoid Indeed.
Yeah.
We got 640 resumes.
Right.
And I first 10 that I called, I don't even know they were real people.
Oh, weird.
And then I talked to 2 people that didn't even know they applied. And so I don't know. I know it behooves Indeed to build these connections. It
Right.
really creates a problem when you're just trying to churn through phone calls. And so I'm wondering, like, when just thinking about it from an employer's perspective, right? Like, it's one thing to have, me having my own agent that's looking for jobs for me, but I do think there's a strong need for me as an employer. Is there an agent that knows all of these people out here and I can ask questions and it can say, hey, here's who I think that you need. Here's who I think you should talk to, right? Because if your agent is talking to Dan and knows about Dan's personality and his dog and how he does things,
Right.
it might be able to, like, oh, you should talk to Dan and here's why. Like, he has the skill set, maybe he's missing a couple things, but he thinks this way, or these are some things he's doing outside of work. And so it makes the case. And maybe I have an agent that's communicating with your agent, but the whole idea is, can the agents then give us a list of potential candidates based on the interactions that everyone's having? So you create this whole ecosystem that isn't just how many keywords are in the resume.
And you actually hit on what Work Match is really all about. And I should probably get into that a little bit. So the idea that we spend a lot of time on our matching algorithm. So the idea is we're looking past just the job history. We're also looking at work style, at reliability. Did they show up? How often do they call out sick? Do they have they advanced? Do they like to work as a team or not? How dependable and reliable were they? So we believe that there are a handful of people who are fairly quiet, do a fantastic job. They show up every time. They don't call in sick. They're very dedicated. They're very conscientious. And we spend a lot of time on algorithms trying to find those people. And we also do things like making sure that they're close enough. So if they live here, are they close to public transport? Because some of the jobs we're looking at are like lower pay level jobs. So people, may or may not have a car. So it makes sense to get a job. They may be driving 50 miles when there's a job 5 miles from their house that would be better for them. So we do a lot of things like that. But yes, we actually look for personality traits. Part of the journey that we go through with Work Match is we after we get the basic job stuff, we go through personality profiles, we go through financial planning, we go through career planning. So we'll kind of take them through almost life skills. And not only is that transferring those skills to them and continuing to be somebody that's in a relationship with them and can kind of guide them, throughout their career long term, but also we're kind of assessing them, right? We're kind of getting a profile and trying to determine who are those gems, the hidden diamonds that aren't polished yet that we're really trying to uncover. So to answer, that was a very long-winded answer to say yes, we absolutely can. And we don't just spam people with reply. We don't just apply. If I'm a trucker, I'm not going to apply for every trucker job. I'm going to find that one or two best jobs and apply for those. And the same thing on the employer side. We definitely want to evaluate all of the candidates and find the best ones.
It'd be interesting if you built an agent for the employer who didn't have a job opening, but wanted to see who was available, justify the job opening.
And I just wanted to clarify and jump on your question, Dan, was about this whole employer, you get 650.
Right.
So back to the matching, I mean, is there any kind of voice matching to recognize, is this a real person? Is that kind of the next step to ensure? Because I know if you call the IRS, they have a whole series you have to go through to validate that you're really the person to go in and do that. I forgot what their system's called, but I've had to do it before.
Right.
And it was voice actuated, and I actually had to come on camera with an outside source, that matched that up. So is that something also that you guys are working on?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we've actually moved away from voice because we looked at that, but because of AI, you can now mimic someone's voice.
Right.
And so that's become less secure than it used to be.
About to roll out their avatars.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well,
Yeah.
and I have to brag on the University of Louisville Speed School. We do have a student that actually, a PhD student that's working on visualization of fakes, deep fakes, whereby it measures the pulse in your neck and the visual features, movement of your face, in pixels in milliseconds so that it can determine if it is actually that person or not. So that's, forthcoming type of technology that's actually here at Hive that they've been working on, which is really quite revolutionary to move it forward. And Intel, of course, has deep fakes and things like that. But thank you.
Right.
Didn't mean to interrupt. Just
No,
wanted
that's
to tag on that question.
No, that's very cool. And the thing about that though is, I mean, you're right. You could tell, you could actually also do lip reading by looking at the larynx and the muscles and the ligaments in your neck as you're talking. And so even if you can't hear them, you can usually do a much better job lip reading as well. But once you can do that, I mean, once you can determine someone's a deep fake by studying that, you could probably then also build an AI agent to mimic it. So it becomes this constant battle of, one-upmanship. You're one step ahead of the fakes, or you're one step ahead of the validation routines.
But then also too, we're still doing it the old way.
Right.
Right. So what's it look like moving forward? Because if you've got tools that you're using in high school and college, and it has a sense of who you are, like if I'm going to call a friend of mine, or we already know the best jobs that you get are the ones that aren't posted.
Absolutely.
Right. And referral networks are huge.
Right.
So is there a way to tap into that and automate that and create trust within that, but just expanding the network?
Yes, that to answer your question, there absolutely is. And where I think this is all leading is, rather than just having this being essential workers, I ultimately think everybody's going to have a personal agent. Everybody. So you're going to have your real persona, and then you can have an agentic persona that will become closer and closer linked over time, and it will handle everything from job seeking to helping you with groceries, managing your investments, setting up your doctor's appointments. I mean, you need all the minutia and trivia and stuff that you have, not trivia, but trivial tasks that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. Think about it, if you had a truly intelligent agent doing all that on your behalf. I mean, how many phone calls, I've got to call because I've got to return this product and I've got to sit on the phone for 15 minutes. Have somebody do that for me.
Just play more video.
Exactly. I could have an agent. No. Would I have the agent play the video game, or would I play the video game? I don't know, but I want a high score in that game, so put the agent on it. I really do think that's where it's headed. And actually, I'm not the only one. I'm seeing a lot of, that's part of what Comet is about on Perplexity, giving you more and more access to the desktop on your Windows or phones, or the ability to interact with all the other components of your operating systems is that's exactly what that's for, and that's why you're seeing more and more of that. Yeah. It's a double-edged sword. It's incredibly convenient and powerful. Like I said, I've got agents handling my email for me. But yeah, I'm definitely worried about, is it going to reply to somebody I don't want it to, or is it going to click on a spam or, a malware attack or something? I don't think it will. But it is a concern. It is a concern. But I will also say, do we really have the privacy that we think we have today? I almost think that privacy is a myth anymore, because just the number of cameras that are around, they can know they can tell who people are by their stride. They don't have to see their face. It's the facial recognition. Your phones are everywhere. Just carrying your phone, even if you don't make a phone call, locks you to a location. They can watch as you move from cell to cell, from tower to tower. I'm not sure that there really is any privacy anymore. So, you don't want to give away your passwords to your investment accounts or anything, but
Not be too far of a leap
right,
from your life.
exactly.
Like they see it.
Well, it depends on you don't just give them, say, access. You give them access to specific things, and we're seeing that. I mean, we're seeing that in the Tahoe update for Mac OS. There was a bunch of controls. If you look like under the covers, a bunch of controls giving you more granular control of the different apps and the different functions that are available. So they're planning for that, and that's
We-
part of what Apple Intelligence is kind of moving towards.
Sorry, we need to speak up because the people can't hear the questions or repeat the questions. Thank you.
So I do think we have an opportunity. I don't know if we take advantage of it, but I think we have an opportunity to probably instill some privacy, right? We talk about like what it looks like with crypto, right? And smart contracts, and I don't need to know who, I just have the smart contract. Well, if my demographics are tied to an ID, so you don't know it's Dan Murphy, but you know it's this person who's this age, who lives, well, now when I go to market to somebody, I'm just looking for those IDs that match this demographics
Right.
versus, knowing it's Dan Murphy, right? And so you abstract out the things that I'm like, companies don't say, I want to talk to Dan Murphy because it's Dan Murphy. They're like, I want to talk to a 46-year-old male who has 2 daughters. They don't need to know it's me. They just need to know that I'm a male with 2 daughters.
I guess for targeting, like for marketing, yeah, you want to make sure that you're marketing to.
Right. And so my point, I think, is because we know it's all marketing. We're just trying to drive revenue by appealing to people who've already purchased, who look like the person, so give me more people who look like the people who've already raised their hand. I don't need to know your name. I don't even know where you live. I just need to know your demographics so that I can get that messaging in front of you. So I think there is an opportunity to abstract out certain aspects of us as individuals and still accomplish the same thing that capitalism needs to accomplish, which is marketing and driving revenue and things of that nature.
So the questions coming from the chat. What are the best training tools to educate users on privacy settings and or other AI tools? So we can show them that list of other AI tools too, that you have either one. So that's a question coming from the chat. Thank you.
Okay. In terms of privacy, I mean, I'll show the tool list here in a second, but in terms of privacy, I'm not sure. I mean, I've covered a lot of that when I did some of my cybersecurity training, like from a CISP and stuff. There was a lot of privacy stuff, and I did manage the privacy office for the Department of Defense. Well, when it's with Humana TRICARE, we were doing all the DoD stuff, but I don't know about privacy specific training. I could find out. I mean, is there a way to follow up with people after and send a link after?
Yeah, we can follow up on that one. Great question. We're going to show a list of a resource link that has a lot of tools, and it's going to overwhelm you. But we'll specifically address that when we send out the follow-up after the seminar, so that you can kind of see, some privacy tools that I don't have off the top of our heads right here, but we will definitely send out that link. So now what you're seeing on this slide is actually AI tools for AI professionals in every different genre. So you see copywriting tools, you see chatbot tools, number 9, you see presentation tools. These are all links that we've put in the chat. I'll put it in the chat again with the link. But there is such a wide variety of tools. We've got prompt tools, we've got UI tools, we have design tools, we have logo generating tools. They're just plurific. There's so many social media management tools. And again, I'll put the link, this particular link that has all these sublinks underneath it. I'll put it back into the chat so that everybody has that. And these are things, that are live out there on the web, and we've found them to be very useful at the University of Louisville because they're ever changing. And this particular source has been very validated and very much useful for us. So with that said, any other concluding remarks, Jim, that you have of other examples you guys are particularly visioning for the future or working on?
No, not beyond the personal agent. I mean, I hope to have by next week, I hope to have much more comprehensive demos, but the demo gods are sometimes a little finicky trying to get some of these things available to demo, but especially when it's in process. But no.
Okay, well, we want to thank Jim Wooldridge again for coming in, and really appreciate sharing expertise, knowledge. And at this time, we're going to switch just real quickly. Dr. Adel Amagrabi, who's here at the University of Louisville Speed School, will now take over the share on the slides, and he's going to show us some of the projects that are live that the working on that are real life problems, healthcare related type of industry problems. So give me 1 second and we're going to, Dr. Amelgrabi, are you online to share?
I'll share a few videos that were prepared by my students about some of the work that they are doing, and we'll just do it right now. Okay.
Hello everyone, my name is Hamed. I started my PhD last semester under Dr. Al-Maghrabi's supervision, and here in Hive we are working on different kind of projects in healthcare, cybersecurity, and the other topics related to AI. Currently I'm working on security of the health data. You know, when you want to do machine learning techniques and apply machine learning techniques on health data, you need to have those data encrypted. So we have to encrypt the health data in a way that it could be processed by machine learning algorithm efficiently. So there is a type of encryption called homomorphic encryption. So I'm going to working on that to make the algorithm more efficient, to see if there's any possibility to apply those kind of algorithms on real world data.
Okay. Hopefully now the others will do. Yeah, so a lot of the work, there are information about it on our website, hivehub.org, but this is just the student sharing just briefly.
Hello, my name is Sahar. I'm a PhD candidate in the Computer Science and Engineering department, and I'm doing my research under the supervision of Dr. Adil Maghrabi. So I wear many hats in the machine learning field. At the start, I worked on music, where I tried to predict the music emotion. Like not the music emotion that you can feel, but the music emotion that the musician is trying to convey to you, which is a different thing. And then at some point, I shifted my focus into dementia, starting with still working on the modality of speech, like audio in speech, where I tried to predict dementia from the speech of the person. And then I switched it to images. I worked with an amazing, and we're still working with an amazing team of young researchers. And together we're trying through MRI to find out if someone has early signs of dementia.
So essentially, we're sharing some of the work we're doing. We didn't want to bore you with PowerPoints. We just thought it's easier just to have a few words. And if you're interested, you can always connect with us or look at what we're publishing and what we're doing.
Hello everyone, I'm Nuruddin Youssef. I'm actually like a PhD candidate at the University of Louisville. Previously I was working as a cybersecurity engineer for about like 6 years. My research focus was actually like on both artificial intelligence, AI, and cybersecurity. Just like my previous research work was about like malware detection using machine learning techniques. We were already like have the ability like to publish 2 papers. This was like focusing on Windows binaries malwares and the availability to detect all of them using the machine learning techniques. Currently, I'm focusing more on malware detection that is concerned more about the Android APKs. Cause like we can say like we both like try to focus on the static and dynamic analysis. We are like concerning more about the static analysis, specifically like with the obfuscated one, the kind like has been like some way hidden from the regular type of detection solutions. So we are similarly like applying like more techniques in order like to be able to detect those type of malware behavior inside the Androids, and like focus more on de-obfuscating them so we can easily like our system can be easily identify them.
We'll get back to the first one that you didn't hear.
Hello everyone, I'm Mona. I'm a PhD candidate in computer science at the University of Louisville. I've started my PhD in January 2023. At the start of my PhD, I was working on customer churn prediction, and my goal was providing companies with a tool that can help them to provide personalized recommendation to their customers. Later, I transitioned to health data, and I started working on nail fold images that the goal was to classify abnormalities in these kind of images. Currently, we are working on dementia projects, and our goal is detect early signs of dementia in previously underexplored brain regions. And for my dissertation, I'm working on continual learning that tries to tackle forgetting problems over time.
Yeah, I'll stop the sharing here, but I will say a few words just quickly. So before I leave you, essentially, the problems that you heard about, a lot of them are healthcare, and dementia is a multidimensional problem. So we're working on it from many dimensions, from audio, from MRI. And MRI, by the way, there are issues related to the brain itself, issues related to different parts of the brain. And to help do explanation, we are looking at different parts of the brain, not the traditional way that people look only at the brain part inside the head. So we are also working on nail fold. The nail fold, the area just above the nail, can tell you a lot about diseases. So we have already a lot of success in this area. And we are working with a couple of doctors across the world to try to collect more data to test it on a larger group. And we had already published a lot of work on mammography. We can detect cancer a year before 30% of the cases that from an actual hospital that shared with us their data. So I think I went over time because we have 4 minutes for the next one. Do you want me?
Thank you so much. I really want to thank again Jim Wooldridge. Thank you so much. We want to give a round of applause. Very helpful. Applied learning. Thank you. And then Dr. Al-Maghrabi, who not only is an esteemed professor at the Speed Engineering School, but also a founder here at Hive Innovation Studio and the Beyond Virtual Reality and several other entrepreneurial efforts like the Digital Transformation Center. So next up is going to be the Digital Media Studio at 11. So we're going to switch, just give us a few moments to switch over. I do want to congratulate, we have a electronic portfolio for the person that's logged in, Joel Schmidt, and just contact us and we will get it to you. Very cool little device that we're giving away. So thank you so much. And we're going to pause here and then we'll switch over our speakers. So give us just a few minutes so that we can switch over. Thank you.